Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have never been here before, my name is Sandra Hart, and we have conversations about all different things and about all of our aspects in life. The other night, we had the most beautiful full moon here in Miami. It was just shining so bright, and it was just amazing. And it got me thinking about how far we have come from the time when I was a little girl, and maybe you did too. But I would love to look out of my bedroom window at night with my elbows on the windowsill and look at this great big moon, or to lie in the grass on the warm summer nights and look up at the moon. And it just looked like this great big ball of Swiss cheese with all the dark holes in it. And it was so far away, but it was always so mysterious. And there was something so magical about a full moon, especially at night. And of course, nobody even told me that it wasn't made out of Swiss cheese, but in reality, even though they knew it was not made of Swiss cheese, even the scientists way back then didn't know exactly what the moon was made of. Well, we finally, in 1969, they went on the moon and they found out that those dark holes that I thought was Swiss cheese were actually craters that had been bombarding that poor moon for billions of years and had things crash into it that made great big craters. But it is amazing that even though that poor moon has suffered so much throughout the billions and billions of years, you know what? It's still shining up there brightly in spite of all those scars and everything that has been through. And think about us. We can be exactly like the moon, or when we look at the moon and we perceive, I did as a child, that it was something that it was not. How often in life, unless we have the whole story or the whole picture, how often do we perceive that things are what they are, but they're not? How often do we think about maybe things that happen to us, or things aren't going right, or we have stumbles or things that happen to us in our lives, and we say, oh my, it's all over. I'm going to be a failure, or I'm never going to be able to make that deal, or I'm never going to be able to buy that house or get that job. It is because, just like that moon up there, we perceive, but what we think is not always true. It's because we don't see the whole story. And you can't say, well, that's just life. Because how many times have those craters that we have come across have not been all that we perceived and thought were terrible, but they actually were pretty cool. And it sent us maybe in a different direction in life. In 1969, when they did land on the moon, I had no idea that it was going to be such a special day for me. I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning with my family. I let the girls stay up because it was such a momentous time in the universe to have these men walk on the moon and plant their feet, and Neil Armstrong to be up there. And I went to bed at 2 o'clock, not knowing that this was going to be such a special event in my life as well. Because while they were landing and walking on the moon, that morning at 10 o'clock, I went to the hospital and my son landed here on Earth. I had this precious little bundle in my arms, and it was a double event for me. It was the landing of this wonderful human being on Earth, and at the same time, while people were walking up there on the moon, I was having a joyous occasion in my life. So every time now that you look at the moon, whether it's a full moon, a crescent moon, or when you gaze up into the sky, think about everything that that poor moon has been through. And think about your life and things that happened to your life. And always remember that sometimes things that you perceive are true are not the actual story. It is not reality. It is not always true that things that we perceive in life are not the actual story. Time has a funny way of teaching us things, doesn't it? And I know that in my time here on Earth, I really have learned that sometimes what I think in my mind is not the actual truth of what is going to happen or what is happening at that time. Because many times if we have stumbles or craters in our lives, we perceive that it's the end of the world, or that we're never going to be able to crawl out of that crater, whatever it is. We're never going to be able to buy that house or get that job or be well again. But that is only a perception. I mean, just like me looking at the moon when I was a little girl, that is just a perception. And what we perceive sometimes, if we don't have the whole story, and if you are living a life like we all live day by day, you don't always get the whole story in a minute or 5 minutes. Sometimes you have to be like that old moon up there and be battered and bruised and pick yourself up from those craters that we all fall into at times. I don't know, but I just know that we are survivors, and we're stronger than we think we are, and we can be like that celestial body up there, and we can go through a heck of a lot without giving up. And it's amazing how many times when we do have those things in our lives that we feel we can crawl out of, it's been a blessing in the end. And I can honestly tell you that because I am living proof that all of those craters and maybe negative thoughts that you have, it's not the whole picture. And it's not always reality. And sometimes when we look at something and we assume that we really know what it means, we don't. And we just have to let it play out, because your light can still be shining no matter what. The hardest of moments, those deepest of craters, sometimes can be the biggest blessings that we will ever experience in our lives. So if you're going through something right now that feels confusing and you feel like it's insurmountable, please try to get the whole story and wait, let things play out, and then maybe you can see things with a better perspective, a better truth. Stay curious, stay hopeful, and even like the moon that has been beaten up by the universe, you too can still have that life, and you can shine in your own unique, bright way. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that you are having a fabulous week. And don't forget that you are a survivor. We all are stronger than we think we are. And I hope that you enjoyed this conversation and what you think about the moon the next time you look at it. And Mushu wants out of the room, so I'm going to go have to open the door for him so that he can run down the stairs and be curious about whatever is bothering him. So take care, and I thank you for being here, and I hope to see you again in my next video.